Are you ready to do some pondering and self-reflection? If so, we are using the Good Tarot for this weekly reading. To see the cards that come up, keep watching. Hi, it's Leia. Welcome to this episode of Diaries of a Witchy Creative Life. It's time for another weekly reading. For those of you who are new here, well, first of all, hey there. And secondly, here's a little intro to how we do readings here. On this channel, our readings are focused on shadow work, personal growth, self-awareness, healing, and these readings are not predictive. If you haven't heard of shadow work, this is when we reconnect with those parts of ourselves that we've shunned, pushed aside, are in denial of, for whatever reason, but typically it's because there's some sort of fear or shame, a negative emotion or experience associated with these parts. And just because we've done our best to forget about them or to push them aside, doesn't mean that they don't exist or that they don't come back up, sometimes very inconveniently, resulting in some sort of incident where we just can't believe we said or did something. So here we explore so that we can get back in touch with those parts of ourselves and begin the journey towards feeling more at peace with them. While you don't need a journal to benefit from the readings here, they are especially good at providing inspiration for journaling prompts. Also, we are not following any spread here, but are looking at the cards individually to see what we can ask ourselves based on the card meanings. I'll link the playlist to the other readings on this channel in the description. Even though the weekly readings are dated, I do that so that I can say that I've put out at least one shadow work reading for the week. But the dates are actually not relevant when it comes to doing personal growth and self-awareness work. So it's okay if you're only finding these readings now. You can still benefit from them. So let's jump in. Card number 1 is the Eight of Water, or in other tarot decks, the Eight of Cups. With this card, one question for exploration is, where might we be done and ready to move on? Whether you're dissatisfied with the direction that something in your life is going, or you've been happy about it for some time, but you know that it's for the best to go in a different direction now. What could that be for you? Or where in your life could that be? And this could be a helpful thing to explore because sometimes we stay somewhere far longer than we should, and we end up being burned out or resentful, or sometimes upon reflection, we see that a lot of energy went to something that we were no longer passionate about. One example of this could be career-related. For someone out there, maybe for the longest time, since childhood, and this is just to give an example, to give you an idea to jog your thoughts, it could be that this person wanted to be a doctor. So they threw themselves into their studies, gave it their all, and after a lot of hard work, they got what they wanted. And for the past 10 years, everything's been great, but they've been feeling a tug at their soul to do something new, something else. Now, some of us wouldn't pay attention to that tug or to that calling because we feel like we've put so much into this dream that we are supposed to do it and live it for the rest of our life. But what if this is the equivalent to being on your way to the store And halfway there, you realize that it's a holiday and they're closed. But instead of heading back home, you keep going to the store anyway because you've gone this far. So why should you turn back now? Looking at that example, it doesn't make sense, right? There's nothing for you at the end of that trip. And by the way, I am crediting my friend Nick for that grocery store analogy because I learned that from him when I was going through one of these moments myself. So yeah, what could this be for you? I know someone who got engaged to someone that he didn't even really like that much. He had gotten sweet-talked into buying an expensive engagement ring when he and his then-girlfriend were at the mall. And because he had put in quite a bit of money into that ring, he kept going with their engagement for a while, even though they weren't that great of a match. But eventually he called it off, and he says it was one of the best decisions he ever made. So what could this be for you? Where might you be done? Or where might you be staying because you're hesitant to leave, but you know it's better if you go? Also, on the flip side of that, for some, what you might be called to explore here is what might you be wanting to leave, not because it isn't truly good for you, but because you simply haven't paid attention to everything that it has to offer. To give one example, someone might be wanting to move elsewhere because they hear all sorts of stories about the adventures that their friends are having over there. And this is not to say that they shouldn't ever move or leave where they currently live. But what if there's still a lot to be explored in their current location? Is it possible that they could have a lot of adventures right where they are, and they're simply currently experiencing the grass is greener on the other side syndrome? Again, this is not to say that they shouldn't ever leave where they are, but maybe they aren't fully appreciating it, and there's so much more they could get out of it if only they gave it a chance. Moving on now to our second card, we have the Page of Air. In other decks, this would be the Page of Swords. With this card, we are being invited to look at where we can be more curious and open-minded. Maybe having more of a beginner's mind approach. You know how when you feel like you already know everything there is to know about a certain subject, it's possible that you close yourself off to new information. But as a beginner, you may be more likely to keep yourself open to what others have to say about it. You may be more like a sponge. Okay, so by no means are you being told here to forget everything you already know. But this is a moment of checking in with yourself. Where might it help you to have more curiosity and openness towards something? For example, some parents, feeling like they're much older than their kids, might be quick to tell their kids what they're doing wrong and to give them advice without really listening to their side. So maybe some parents out there could make it a conscious practice to listen more to your kids. Just because they're younger doesn't mean that they don't have any wisdom of their own, or that they don't have anything to teach you as well. And for some out there, it could also be that because you consider yourself to this or to that, it's too late or pointless to learn. For instance, someone might feel like their body is too old for a certain sport or activity. And of course, it's a good thing to be careful and to be mindful about your limitations, especially in the beginning when you're trying something new. But what if it isn't too late to start dancing, or to get into something like pole fitness, or even to ride a bike? And some might feel like they're too old to get back into the dating game. Maybe they're thinking so much has changed since they last dated, and they don't know how they're gonna find a new significant other at this point in their lives when they're thinking that they have more liabilities to bring into a relationship. Maybe they have kids that they're taking care of, or they take care of their elderly parents as well. And these are responsibilities that they're already immediately assuming no significant other would want any part of. But what if you allowed yourself to be open to the possibility of there being someone, a really great match for you, who would be more than okay with all of that. And sure, you might have to kiss a few frogs along the way, but if it means that, it leads to someone totally fantastic, where you're both a blessing in each other's lives, you're both a prize in each other's eyes, then wouldn't it be worth it? A few things there for you to think about. Okay. Card number 3 for this weekly reading is number 8 in the Major Arcana, Strength. Let's take a moment here to celebrate your resilience and how far you've come. Where in your life might you not have celebrated yourself or given yourself acknowledgement for overcoming something? It's time for you to recognize just how strong you are. If you've been wired or taught to never acknowledge your triumphs, your wins, this very likely affected your self-esteem early in life, and you don't see the challenges that you've already made it through. We could even look at what we're going through right now. There's always something that we overcome on a daily basis. Obstacles, challenges. For some, even getting out of bed can be difficult. Making it through each day could be especially hard. If you've experienced something especially hard on you, and yet you're still going day after day, that is an accomplishment. If you've been shamed or criticized for having a difficult time with something, let's give the example of being a sensitive person. There isn't anything wrong at all with being sensitive in the sense of being able to pick up on any harsh energy, let's say, when people talk to you and not appreciating that, or feeling emotions strongly and being very expressive. But mainstream society in general isn't used to that, and many of us have been taught to keep these feelings in, so people do get criticized for feeling too much or for being, quote-unquote, too sensitive. So back to my original point. If you've been criticized for being, to use the same example, too sensitive, doesn't mean at all that you're weak. Maybe the idea that you're weak might have been planted in your head, but your being sensitive is simply you having a greater awareness of energy. Maybe you're even an empath or a highly sensitive person, and those who have been around you throughout your life have downplayed that or shamed those parts of you, so you don't see the beauty in them. And now could be a great time for you to reclaim these parts of yourself. Feeling strongly doesn't make you weak. And the fact that you've kept going despite feeling more than a lot of other people seem to is only testament, I'd say, to how strong you truly are. So think about that and acknowledge that strength in yourself now. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. If you enjoyed this, I invite you to take a look at the other videos on this channel to see if you like them as well, and if you resonate, please give them a like, subscribe, and get notifications for this channel so that you don't miss a thing. I'll be back with more videos on tarot, oracle cards, healing, self-awareness, personal growth, shadow work, and the like, so stay tuned. In the meantime, do take care of yourself. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now. More Diaries of a Witchy Creative Life are on their way.